Welcome everyone to another episode here at Alivestory in Amsterdam, where we are interviewing dancers and people with a dancing background that are now entrepreneurs, having their own company and other inspiring things. If you like what we're doing, don't forget that you can comment below on every single episode. And if you haven't watched the other episode, don't worry, they're all at our Facebook page at alivestory.official. Today, we're going to interview another amazing dancer. She is not only a known profile in the Scandinavian and Nordic hip-hop community, but also the founder of Subsdans, Soul Sessions. Most people know her from the style of popping, and she has been a role model for a lot of dancers. Today, we're going to interview no one else than Camilla Vanilla. Camilla Vanilla grew up in Norway. She grew up almost at the border between Norway and Sweden. Camilla's father actually grew up in Ethiopia and brought back the interest of music into their home. Before Camilla fell in love with the hip-hop community, she studied at several educations within classical dance. She later moved to Denmark to attend one of Europe's first hip-hop school, Florence Academy. Camilla formed a crew called Deep Down Dopeizm. Together with her friend Matias, Camilla started a dance school in Oslo called Subsdans, which is still active today. Now you know a little bit more about Camilla, but before we go into this interview, you already know what to do. Press that like button, share, comment, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you know when the next episodes come out. Now, let's get into it. So, welcome Camilla to this interview.
Thank you.
How are you doing and where are you right now?
I'm good. It's Friday and I'm in my apartment in Oslo.
I mean, you're running a dance school. For now, do you have like online classes or what's happening right now with the dance school?
Yeah, we actually started immediately to teach online just after everything closed down on the 12th of March. You know, all the teachers try to teach something on Facebook, send videos, and maybe have some Zoom. And then after Easter, we started like a proper online schedule. So then all the teachers have their classes online, and it's like a regular schedule but online.
And I really want to come into more about how you opened your own dance school later on. But first of all, like for me and for a lot of other people in the Nordic hip-hop community, when we think about the style popping, you're one of the big names that comes up. And but of course, not everyone starts with a style that they become big within.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell us a little bit about how you found dancing in your life before the popping era?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, first of all, thank you. That was a really big compliment. I'm like, oh. Well, I've been dancing since I was very young, like about 2 or 3 years old. I was dancing at home with my father, and then started the ballet when I was about 4. And you know, growing up in the countryside, there was not really a lot of offers, so I had to quit ballet because it was too far away, and I did gymnastics and like different stuff until I was 15. And then being very fascinated about hip-hop, like the whole MTV thing, and I was really like dressing like a hip-hopper, but I didn't really know what it was. But then I discovered the breaking. I met some b-boys when I was 15, and I started breaking and I got into the hip-hop culture like that. At the same time, I was also doing like dance high school, so I was learning jazz, contemporary, and ballet. And I also finished my dance education. So I have like 3 years of high school and 3 years of education after that. But all the time I was breaking and I was like into the hip hop community. And so when I finished my education when I was about 23, I was very clear that I really wanted to just do like hip hop dance. So I started searching more into that, learning more about the different foundations, and I went to Denmark to flow, and I, discovered the whole, if I can put it like freestyle hip hop thing. I saw Wreck and Shop, I saw Just a Boo, I went to Just a Boo for the first time in 2006. So from there on, I basically put like jazz, contemporary, everything on the shelf, and I went into like hip hop, whacking, locking, popping, and like dug deep. And I guess I like did a lot of styles for many years until I just started peeling off even more, and kind of ended up with the popping that I felt like was the style that I fell, I guess, mostly in love with, that I wanted to like really, be better at, even better. It never ends, but
it's putting a perspective on it. But here you are, you're like a fairly blonde Norwegian girl living on the countryside, and you're watching MTV, and that's kind of where you get hooked. What do you think why the hip hop community? Why, you have no background, like it's not like your parents are DJs or, something like this. But what actually captivated you to this culture in particular?
It's a really good question, and I mean, first of all, my father grew up in Ethiopia. He was born there, and I was interested in dance, rhythm, clothing, art. I don't know if his like this culture that he brought into me affected me in some way, but I like to think so. I was always like kind of like a weirdo. Like I was the rainbow child, I grew up in a small country town, but I wore like a lot of colors, and I was always like, dressing and acting differently, and kind of like feeling like I didn't fit in a lot. I don't know. I had stuff to say, my parents divorced when I was 9. I was bullied basically my whole elementary school, and also like felt like an outsider a lot. So when I met hip hop, both with the music and the like, I remember trying to rhyme. I was like super but I went to the Fugees concert when I was 14. I just really like, there was something that drew me into it. And when I finally found it, like when I went to a jam for the first time, and I was just like, I felt like I was home, I felt like this was like a space for me where I could be myself, and in this weird way fit in anyway. Mm-hmm. So I just, the struggle we all have in our life, it can be different for each person and where you come from, and but definitely I think like hip hop saved my life in the way that I had found a place where I could express myself and be a part of something that was bigger than me,
Mm-hmm. Mm. I mean, that is the sense of the community a lot. And you decided then, you moved from the countryside, you moved into Oslo, and did you continue with the breaking there before you went to Denmark, or how did that transition look like?
Yeah, the thing was I started the dance education in Oslo I attended when I was 19. I was still into breaking, and I went to jams and stuff, but the thing was the dance education was quite demanding, and it was like really intense for 3 years. I also had a lot of injuries and problems, real issues with my body. So I wasn't able to practice too much breaking besides school, because I had to focus on that. So it was more like the culture part of it, going to jams, practicing a bit, keeping in touch, But at that point I started more, discovering more like choreography, hip hop stuff through Circle, which is like was at that point a Norwegian street dance company similar to Bounce in Sweden. And it was Paolo, Paulito, was a b-boy that I also knew from before, and Hung, who was a Danish hip-hop dancer. They started this company and I started training with them, learning choreography, hip-hop. So that was kind of like a transition there between the education and then taking some evening classes with them. And then when I finished my education, I was like, my arm and then my body, and then I just...
You gave hip-hop your little finger and it took your whole being. Yeah.
In a good way.
I've experienced that too. It's quite a journey. And then you applied for Florence Academy. And I mean, I know what it is because I also went to that education, but what was it for you? And if people that maybe listen to this interview that don't know about the school, tell me, how did you find it? What did it mean for you to go there? Was it a shock to enter it? Kind of that.
Yeah, that's a good story. Well, to keep it short, I when I finished my dance education, I felt like in some weird way I went further and further away from what hip hop was, because I was going into this. I'm so happy that I went to Bordar too, but I was like, I wanted to get it. I wanted to understand all the different like foundational styles. I wanted to learn locking, learn popping, and my teachers in Norway were very inspiring to me. But I felt like I was missing out on something, that there was a link that I didn't get. And I felt like I had to travel to find and I was really like about to go to New York. And I was like trying to get money, to go there for 6 months or something. This was 2004. And then I guess it was Hung and Paolo who told me about Flow, because they were, Hung was Danish and they were friends with Kenneth and Natalia, who had the school in Denmark at that point. And I applied, I got in, my grandparents gave me some money as like they gave all the
grandchildren,
thank you. At that point when I was 23, I just finished education. It was crazy to do another one. I was working for 1 year and then I went to Flow, which is, it was like a daytime, and it's a daytime street dance education, 1 year, where you can like dig into the different styles of street dance, popping, locking, hip hop, house, quite a lot of like more commercial LA style hip hop. I don't know how to put it, but yeah. And at that point they called it ragga, but like dance hall stuff. And locking, yeah, everything, and breaking, of course. So I was actually just supposed to be there for 3 months. It was like 3 months or a whole year, and I was like, oh shit, I can't leave. I understood how much I didn't know. I was just like, I'll just do 3-4 months and then I'll go home, continue my work at the culture school and, go for that. And then I was like, shit, I don't know anything. I was like, totally, it was a shock to me, because I was like, I had education, I've been working professionally, I did TV shows, I did like a lot of stuff before I moved there. I was like, shit, I don't know anything. I was like, ugh. I remember like Tina was doing some funk stuff, moving her head, and I was like, it's like, I didn't, oh my God. I remember I really understood that I had a long way to go and that it was going to take years. And I just I called my work in Norway, both my bosses at Bordar and the culture school, Circle, my parents, everyone. And I said, I'm not coming home. I'm staying here.
And that's where you also met your future company partner.
Yeah, that's true. So I met Matias. Matias was Danish dancer, and he also went to Flow. We got together, and we were together for 7 years. He moved with me to Denmark, now to Norway. after a while, we got a job offer like a year after to work with Circle. And after a while, we built, we started soul sessions together. In 2009, we started.
We also have to talk about that.
Yeah.
Like soul session is, again, like for the people who don't know, that may be listening from the Netherlands or France or whatever, soul session is a part of the Scandinavian hip-hop community in such a profound way. You started, when did you say you started?
We started it in spring 2009, so it actually has 11-year anniversary this year.
And what was the concept when you started? Why did you start it?
It was, we've been living in Norway at that point for 2 years. I went to Paris a lot and went to June and the different jams and, just debut, different battles. And I always felt like something was missing when I came home, and we both felt like that. We had some friends in Norway who were doing like freestyle hip hop, and we were clubbing a lot, practicing in a small studio, and it was quite like, felt like there was a few other dancers who also been traveling and were kind of like getting into that type of vibe, but it was small. And we were like, we have to do something without having to explain everyone what we're trying to do. So we made like a June tea time concept Sundays, where we borrowed the studio where we worked. And we made like a club from, I think it was from 4 to 8 or something in the evening. And it was costed like 20 kroner, which is like €2 to get in. And it went to the DJ. And we did that for 6 months every Sunday, and then we made our first festival, which was like Soul Sessions Extended, 2009 September. And from that on, we got a deal with a club. So then we did like a Sunday jam. No, I have to correct myself. It wasn't every week. It was every month. Yeah, from we started. And then we started at the Villa, which is like an underground house club in Norway with a super dope sound system. So we got to borrow and rent very cheap each like one Sunday a month. And that's when it kind of like, started. It was to get, the club feeling, the social dance feeling, the connection with the music without the mirrors. Trying to create the cypher mentality more, it's been like hip-hop has been in Norway for years, since 82 or before, but the club freestyle social dance scene, I guess, was kind of like moving a bit like that. And we were like, we have to get more people into this stuff because it's so nice. And then and it was non-drug, non-alcohol, only water in the bar. Nobody bought soda, so they started, having no people at the bar because I didn't earn any money as for club owners.
No, but that's great. And I mean, for me, Soul Session, and for a lot of people, Soul Session has been like the major event in Norway for a long time. But you didn't just do the Soul Session. You also started a crew at some point.
That's true. That was actually like 2008, 2009. Officially, Deep Down Dopeizm was founded in 2009. But we started 1 year before, but then our name was Subsdans. And then we found out there was like 5 crews in France who had the same name, so we just changed it.
So how did you come up with Deep Down Dopeizm?
Yeah, right. We were very into, thinking about the 3-dimensional mentality of moving in the cipher, not thinking 2D, not dancing to the camera or to one front, but like dancing in every
direction.
And so we were like, we want to be in 3D. That was like kind of the first idea, from what I remember. And then we wanted to find 3 letters, 3 words starting with a D that was describing what we wanted to say and be, in a way, I guess. And then it was Matias who found the words Deep Down Dopeizm. He's like a word wizard. I think he was a rapper in another life. He's very good and creative when it comes to like finding names and stuff. So he was the one who came up with Deep Down Dopeizm.
And what did that crew? What was? Did you perform mostly? Did you battle? What was the focus of the crew?
Yeah, well, there was a Thursday club, and there was a place called Living Room in Oslo. It was like a club, and every Thursday there was a DJ or several different DJs who played there. And it was like DJ Soul Shock, and I guess it was various DJs, but he's the one I remember. Maybe it was his club. But anyway, we were a few dancers going there every Thursday, getting down, training all nights, sweating, and it was like we found the connection, and then it came up like, it's so classic. It's like a street dance movie, you know. It was a poster at the studio where we worked at Circle. It was like street dance competition, you know, showcase, winning prize, blah, blah, blah. We were like, we're going to enter that. And I was like, we're going to make a crew. Okay, we sent a text message to 7 different people. We asked them if they were, it was the 7 people that we connected with, you know. We just felt like this is the time. So yeah, we asked everyone if they wanted to make a crew, and we met and we made a show. We didn't win, but then we continued, you know, practicing together and creating stuff. And a year after, it was an event called Florence Anniversary. We were all freestyle heads, you know, but creative and liking to create stuff and choreographies. But what connected us was for sure like the cipher. And then 2009, Floor Nights anniversary, 20-year anniversary, I think, or was it 10? It was a showcase competition again, where the 4 best crews would go into a battle, and we practiced like hell. That's when we made a show called The Cube. You can find it on YouTube. Quite legendary, I would say.
I'm gonna link it down below so people can find it.
Yeah, we were invited to San Francisco Hip Hop Dance Fest with that, actually. So that fall we went there. But we won the whole thing, and Mr. Wiggles, Lilu, and Capella were judges, and we, you know, people went crazy for that showcase, and we won the battle. And it was kind of like, I remember almost shitting myself that day because I was so nervous, because I felt like it was like the beginning of something, you know, like a new creative era for us. And it was. So that's kind of like long. I'm terrible at doing like short stories, you know, but
we're here to tell the stories because those are the most important ones, you know. And is the crew still like active?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like many crews, it changed, you know. There was a member going out, and there was another one, and then we had a new generation coming in. So the founders were, the first part of the crew was me, Matias, Marvin, Marvelous, Maxime, Lee, and Natasha. I hope I didn't forget anyone.
It might come up later, don't worry.
Yeah, so Lee, and then Lee went out at the point, and Eivind came in, and it was it was us for quite a while. And then, you know, Malene, Anna, Louis came in, and after the new generation. So we're kind of like, now we're, I think we're 14 dancers in the crew. At some point, some of the old members went out after a while, like the classical, you know, things change, people change, the path changed. But we had our 10-year anniversary this fall, and we are performing. We make we made 3 full-length performances. Performing in theaters, and we all battle and create stuff. So it's, yeah, definitely for sure, and active and keep on growing. We have 3 members who are 16, Yule, Sebastian, and Jojo, and yeah, I have a great amount of positivity and ideas about the future. I'm going to be like living until I'm like 80. And they're just like making stuff, and I'm just like, yeah.
Hip-hop grandma for sure. Yeah.
I hope so.
We are here. You guys, you started Soul Session, you started a crew, and then somehow you thought, it's not enough. I have more time on my hands. I'm also gonna create a company.
Yeah.
Tell me about that. What happened?
We had a vision that was like the strength and the strength of I think Matias and mine friendship, and we have a very strong belief in the things that we do, and you know, the way that we wanted to go with our classes, how to teach. And we at some point we found out that we wanted to create a studio of our own. We were working at Circle for some years, and you know, it felt like the energy that we were putting into building needed to be like in a different way. So it was never a plan to make like a huge dance studio. It was never a business plan. It was more like we wanted to, you know, have our pack and just like build. So we started just renting in a gym, renting a studio in the gym and teaching our classes the different styles that we did. Like Matias did house, breaking, and also hip hop, and me, I did at that point I was teaching whacking, popping, and hip hop.
Yeah.
And then after a while we pulled more people in, and it grew very organically. We had to move, we moved again, it got bigger, and now it's I guess the main street dance studio in Norway, Oslo. We have 23 teachers, and
Wow, 23 teachers.
yeah, and more than 400 students. So it's quite big.
Substance, really. And before this interview, I posted on Facebook an open question to readers. What would you ask an owner of a dance school if you could ask any question? The first question that came up was, is there something that you overlooked and missed when you started your dance school?
Yeah, it's a very good question. You know, we had the advantage that we had worked on 2 studios, and I had been teaching on maybe 10 or 12 different dance studios. So I had quite a lot of inspiration and experience with me, and a quite clear vision of what I wanted to be, what we wanted to build. We were very bad at thinking of finances. You know, it took many years until we earned money on it. I think that's, you know, been my biggest problem, especially for the first 5 years. And then my brother worked in a bank, so he was trying to make me, you know, make money out of stuff, and he was like, you have to think about your future. And I was like, yeah, but it doesn't matter. But I think being missed, I mean,
it's stuff you learn along the way,
yeah,
I guess.
for sure, I learned that I have to, you know, make sure that I can earn my living and have food on the table before creating work for others. But I don't regret thinking like that, because, you know, it makes it like a project that we like to call all the projects for passion projects.
Right.
So, but for sure, I would say, if I was my more clever me now, I would say make a plan, you know, for the next 5 years for the business of it, so that you don't like, oh, then we lost the place and we didn't know what to do, and we signed the contract for a crazy landlord who was just like, she threw us out, and it was just like, yeah,
panic.
Stressful.
Yeah, no, but I guess, and I think that that's a normal misconception when it comes to artists, creative people, that we do this because of the art, because of the passion, because of the community. It doesn't mean that we are amazing at running companies, doing taxes. You know, we don't have an education most of the times in economically, you know, knowledge.
It's a lot of learning by doing.
And I also feel like, you know, a lot of artists usually have a manager, and dancers often don't have a manager, and who can check out contracts. Is this good rental contract or not?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, oh my God, you know, we have a lot to learn. But what's great with artists is that, you know, you can feel the passion and you can feel the engagement in it. And that's why people want to follow. That's why people want to be a part of it, because they can feel that pureness, you know, which is not business related. But there has to be a balance, like in everything, you know. If you don't earn any money on stuff, you're going to hit the wall.
For sure. There's a couple of questions more here. We have, what is your actual goal with owning a studio, the classes you offer, and the overall benefit to your clients, inclusive of the staff you hire to teach?
Oh,
It's a
wow.
long one. It's a long one. But let's focus on what is the actual goal of you having Subsdans and offering classes.
Yeah, I mean, for us, it's very clear. We're sticking to it. We've been sticking to it for 10 years. We want to create a place where you can learn foundations within street dance and learn and then create yourself, build yourself. Kids, grown-ups, professionals, anyone. We want to make sure that, the style that you learn is the style that it is. If I can put it like that. I mean, there's always, a big bubble within that to have stuff. But, when we have a house class, we teach house foundation. If we have a popping class, we teach popping foundation, and we give the students tools to improvise and find their own style within that. So that's one of the main things, but it's also a lot about the humanistic side, to create a space that is room for everyone, and a place where people feel like they're welcome. We always talk about you should always get a hi when you get into the door and bye when you leave, like a hug. We can't hug anymore. Oh. And eye contact, place where you feel like you can just be and be creative in the room with other people, like a free space. And the vision is the same for the teachers. We want them to feel like they can, use their creativity to inspire others, and share this amazing culture that we're a part of, that we're kind of like guests in, if I can put it like that. But for sure, inspire and be, but still within like it's not anything like any stuff. It has to be what we say it is, if you know what I mean, like.
It's still a respect of the culture, and you want to kind of send that out to your students. Yeah.
And it's a community-based studio. The parents have been helping us for years. All the walls are painted by students and us and teachers, and it's kind of a dugnad, we call it in Norwegian, like everyone pitched in for years. And that's the mindset of the place. What we try to teach our students is like, if you see a dry plant, you should water it, not just leave it dry and then think someone else is going to fix it. Clean the floor if you think it's dirty, even though we have cleaners. Having that mentality, it's your second home. Yeah.
Because that's basically what hip-hop is too, right? Yeah. Like each one teach one, sharing is caring, all those things that is actually making this culture amazing. Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
Another question, you mentioned that you had 23 teachers, and one of the questions was, do you actually research into the teachers that you employ? How do you think when you choose? Because I can just imagine if you have this very set vision and like you're very protective of the energy and stuff. So how do you actually pick teachers? What is your criteria? Or
yeah, so most of our teachers, we they were teaching at our studio for years, and we have some kind of a personal relation to them. Either they're friends, crewmates, we cooperated at some point and it built into something. It's a trust-based companionship. They have to have, of course, a strong integrity in their own style and the style that they teach and do. For us, it's important that our teachers are also active dancers. Either they perform or create or do something where they're not just teaching. It sounds a bit crazy when I say it, but I hope you understand even the kids, the teachers who teach kids, they're active dancers. And they have to be into the parts that I was talking about earlier, and be, about the students. Not just about themselves, showing themselves, but about the students, having this two-dimensional point, like, making themselves grow and keep inspiring others and themselves. And when I think about all the teachers who teach at our studio, it's definitely, checks on everything on all of them. There are people who inspire me so much. Some of them have been my students. Some of them have been my teachers. And it's not just like, hey, do you want a job? I want you in here. It's not, it's way back. It's the same as I was talking about earlier. It's not a business idea. It's more like you're part of the family now.
And I think that you are a great example of that because you're still active. That is also to leave some of these questions, but that is also something I want to get into a little bit. The reason why you are still active in the battle community, like you still battle, you're not only judging. Why do you keep doing it? Because, you know, there's a lot of dancers by a certain age or a certain period just stops and they're only judging or teaching and or choreographing. But what makes you go? What makes you continue battling?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I mean, I'm born in 82, so I'm 38 now, which means I'm 40 in like 1.5 years. I'm never done, you know. I'm not finished, and I have this. I mean, obviously, when you listen to my story, you understand that I work and did work a lot. And the things that we've been talking about now are just a few of the things that I've been working on. I was choreographing for theater. I was making my own performances. I've been touring. I did TV jobs. I made Glow for like Eurovision, like flash mob in 2010, worked with that. I did a lot of stuff, and I worked with the movie. I was running all the time, you know, and it's this fire inside that you're just like, I want to do all these things, and you get opportunities, and I'm a yes person. I was like, yes. And then at one point I was like, I kind of like felt like the dancer in me was not getting enough food. I was doing too much for other people. It was my own choice, you know, but it took a lot of effort to make all these things work and all the projects live. And I also had to work a lot because I had to earn money also for my own living. So, but I really hit the wall, actually. It's about 4 years ago now, and I was like crashed completely. And I didn't have any joy. I just booked a performance. We did 10 performances with my own piece. And I was just like crying, you know, before going on stage because I didn't want to dance. I was empty, completely empty. And that's when I started to like change my life, change my habits, change the way I lived, make sure I didn't stress too much. And I really felt like I needed to like refuel my own dance, my own passion, you know, so that I wouldn't be finished 5 years from then. Because then I would just probably, you know, do something else. So I found out like about 3 years ago that I had to go to Japan and Korea and train more popping. I quit a lot of jobs. I said no to freelance work. I was just like, now I'm just going to do this for like 1 year to make sure that I don't regret anything in my life. I'm not done, you know. So that's, you know, and it saved me. And that's when I started, you know, that's when I won Just to Bo Nordic. That's when I started getting booked more. Not that that was important for me. The most important thing was that I felt like I gave myself another chance, you know, of growing more. And I did midnight practice. I was like practicing alone in the studio after classes. I stayed up. I just, you know, gave myself that time and space. And yeah, there's a time and place for everything, but at that point it was really important for me. And I'm very happy that I hit the wall because it made me wake up a bit, you know, like, okay, if you're not there, then all of this is not going to be there. So you have to like nurture your own creative self.
That is also another thing that I was thinking before we went into this interview is, you know, female battle dancers always usually struggle with that they are great for being female battle dancers. And you picked a particular style, which is super male dominated. Not only is it a hardcore style with so much technique in it, and a lot of discussions, and people are always, what is this popping? What is what and whatever. Did you ever feel like, oh, I picked the wrong style? Did you ever doubt, like, oh no, this was a mistake?
It's a really good question. I mean, I definitely was thinking, why the fuck am I putting myself into this? But I know why, because I love the style. And it's super hard. I mean, for me, there was some other styles that for example, whacking. Whacking felt so natural to me. I did jazz. I was doing like some funk stuff. I was like, and I could have gone more into that. And I was passionate about it for 10 years. But pop, and I'm not saying whacking was easy. I mean, and I need to learn a lot to get there. But popping was the most difficult style for me. It was the most brain fuck, I was like, fuck, I think I'm on beat, but I'm not. Why? And then, doing the massive flex 20 times, 30 times, 100,000, or twist of flex, or Fresno, learning, oh, it's not like that. Oh, that's the story. All this stuff, it never ends. And I love the music. I just really love the music. I mean, both like G-funk, P-funk, but also the new stuff. And I love the control of it and not control, the funkiness. There's just, and then I'm just like, why am I putting myself into this, going into a cypher in Korea where I'm just like, I suck so hard, and they're like 18 and they're so good, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm so embarrassed. But that's what makes us live. It's like, shit, we have to do stuff that we're like, that makes us feel like, it's such a cliche, but so true, like going out of the comfort zone. So I guess that's why. I mean, I just like being challenged.
I think that whether you want it or not, maybe that wasn't your goal, but you still have become, I can only talk for the Nordic community in that sense, but we don't have a lot of female poppers active in Battler. And so whether you wanted it or not, you have become some sort of role model. What would you like more out of the culture, especially maybe within hip hop? What would you like to see in the future when it comes to maybe popping, the battle scene, females in the hip hop scene? What is your kind of wants and needs into that?
Saying it in a humble way, I know that I'm a role model, and I'm very conscious also about the message I send out. And I always wanted to have more female dance teachers or role models myself. And I think in Norway we're quite blessed, because there are a lot of female dancers who are amazing and great teachers and choreographers, and have been for years. So, but within popping, not so much, I guess. No, I hope I didn't forget anyone, but there are female poppers, of course, here. But I didn't have someone to like reach for. Organizing for years, teaching, traveling, taking workshops anywhere. It's quite obvious to see that there are much more men in the culture who get booked, who judge, who teach, and there's a lot of female students. But in the battles, there's a lot of men who win, and I don't see that as a problem, and I don't think that anyone's like, I'm voting for you because you're a guy, I'm not voting for you because you're a girl. But for sure, there is some things and some structures in this culture that we can work on. And first of all, I hope for the future that girls and women in the dance scene, but in general, don't wait for approval from others to see themselves as something worthy and someone good, or, because I think that's one of the things that a lot of, I hope nobody shoots me now, but a lot of girls are, you know, thinking a lot, analyzing insecurity, you know, they don't want anyone to blah, 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 all these things. Guys have a more like do it mentality. I'll just do it, you know, and then, okay, I'll fall. It's kind of really deep in our upbringing too. The perfect, you have to be nice and, you know, all these things. And the guys are more like, yeah, go play. It's deep in us. So it's a structure that it's not just about the hip hop, it's about a lot of stuff. But to be like fearless, to not wait for approval. If you lose a battle, you have to go again, you know. It's not like, oh, they didn't like me, I didn't go through the pre-selection, I have to quit now. You have to get, you know, I think, you know, go. That's the only way we can make this happen. And then when it comes to like for the dancers and also bookers, people who make festivals, they have to, I think about having type of a gender balance. I see a lot of posters where there's only men on the lineup. Yeah, I think it's a problem. I think we have to change something, and I'll leave it at that. I mean, it's up to each person, each organizer, but keeping in mind, you know, if you invite 32 dancers and the one is female, how? I mean, for me, it's just like a lot of the great male dancers that I know, like, for example, Mr. Wiggles, he talks a lot about the female force in the dance and the ability to move hips and the ability to feel the music. And like him and Stretch and a lot of the great legends talk about their sisters, their mothers, you know, the ones who inspired them to dance, who was teaching them in the beginning, and they always hail them. And I think we have to, like, that's important, you know. It's not like something to just leave behind. We have to take the responsibility, the female dancers. We can't just like, yeah, they don't like me, I didn't win, so I'll just stop. You know, you have to like move through that, I guess.
I think a lot about like athletes and how you in other sports you have like mental coaches.
Yeah.
And how I wish sometimes that the battle community would have that, and maybe also sometimes separate, like for the female battle scene, like you would have coaches. This is just like something in my head, but I wish that I would have also had like a female coach, mental coach to go to, which I would know understands me and understands the struggles that we have, because we are also very separated in our own little, you know, struggles and in our own little battle careers, whatever style it is.
Yeah, that's a lot of what I do when I teach. Like when I teach at Flow or the Subsdans crew, the young ones, but also, you know, the ones that I train with, my crewmates, we talk a lot about these things. And I talk a lot. I had this course called Go Deep, like a summer course, where we, you know, work about the mind. How do I think? Because that's what I had to do. I had to completely change how I was thinking about myself and how I see myself, how I see others. It's all in here. So I totally agree, you know, mental coaches who understand. For me, I had to learn it by doing, like, you know, reading about Buddhism, reading about going to therapy, like figuring out what the fuck I'm doing here, you know. But dance is so transparent. We can't hide.
We talked about the community. We talked about you going from a freestyle dancer to an educated hip-hop dancer to creating your own crew to having your own dance school. And I actually would love to finish off with a question that also came in, which was, what would you advise your younger self?
Oh.
The deep down Dopeizm.
Yeah, oh my God,
question.
Yeah, it's super deep, you know. It's a really good question. I would advise myself to take care of my health and remember that life is not just dance and achievements, and life is just breathing in and being in the forest, being with people you love, eating good food and listening to good music, like all these things, live and love. I think it's very, when you're passionate about something, you just go and go and go, you want to create. But for me, it was like the biggest lesson becoming older was for sure like finding joy in the small things in life. I don't know if that's something you can learn at an easy stage, but I know that at an early stage in life, but I really think that it would make it would have made it easier for me having an artist mind, having my struggles in my head, but also, being super ambitious. I had to really learn to like press pause and just like, now I'm just gonna, and it inspires me, keeps on inspiring me that I have these breaks. So yeah, my younger self, I would say, Camilla, I remember like dance is not everything. Like take care of your health, eat well, run, do yoga, breathe, meditate, love, like all these things that are life, super deep.
Yeah, it is deep, but it's so important. And I think that we are also tending to forget that because, as I said, like you give the culture and your passion the little finger and suddenly it has your whole being. And it can be very hard to stop and take a break. And I think that this situation we're in right now is a forced stop for us all to kind of considerate what's happening. I'm just assuming now, since I don't have my own dance school, but I think that a lot of people also have a misconception of how easy it might be to have your own dance school, and it's like just up and running and you get all the students and you're just walking in with your coffee and you're teaching a little bit, chatting a little bit, and that kind of it. What advice would you give people that maybe are thinking about going for their passion full time, or like making your passion your career and your living? What would your be like top 3 advices for these people?
Find out what things are important to you when it comes to the core of your creativity and what you want to create, and don't let go of that. Keep the path, write it down, make a team. I mean, I would never have been where I am or created the stuff that I made if it wasn't for having a great partner, a creative partner that I trust, and we have shared the same vision, but also building a team around that, like our crew, the Soul Sessions family, everyone who's a part of that working like crazy, and all the teachers, being very aware that if you're alone on an island, it's very hard to make things grow. So create a team that you trust. And I think the last one would be honest to yourself and to the people you involve in your life, and the people you choose to share your passion with and work with. I think honesty is one of the most important things when it comes to building stuff, if you want it to last.
Yeah.
I think that's one of my biggest assets. I think sometimes it's hard, but I'm super honest, mostly in the good way, but sometimes in the hard way. I can be quite direct, but yeah, then people know where I am and where they have me, and they know that I will always tell the truth.
And I also wanted to say that the first interview I did was with Sebastian Kruse from Be Fit and Sensual.
Oh, yeah.
And he, when I asked him what he took away mostly from, his success as so far, he said, like, I am standing on the shoulders of giants. Like, this would never have been possible. And then your name was one of the names that he mentioned as like Substans, and so it really means a lot to hear those advices from you, from other people who actually been working for the community, because it branches off to so many more people. So I also wanted to send that to you.
That's really moving. I'm super sensitive, so I always try not to cry in front of people, but I always, fail at it. But that's very, very moving. And I think for me, that's a big part of my inspiration, is that I can affect other people in a good way and share some of that's also why I wanted to, I thought it was super honoring to be asked to do an interview like this. And I guess the motivation is that if there's something that I learned along the way that I can share with other people, then it's good, There's so many people who inspired me so much and taught me so many things. So I want to keep paying it forward.
And that is especially why I do these interviews too, because I think that there's so many people out there with an amazing life story, but also the story is alive and it needs to be spread more, because you don't know what kind of seeds those stories can grow out of.
Yeah, right.
So thank you so much for taking your time. It's been amazing, and I'm sure that I will contact you again about a lot of other things in the future.
Yeah, feel free to ask me, Teresa. It's so nice to see you.
See you from afar. And where can we find you? If people want to take online classes now?
Substans is substance. It means substance, so that's in Norwegian, the website, or Instagram. You can find us on Instagram, and I have my own Instagram. I'm Camilla Vanilla, but Camilla Vanilla 1.
Yes.
Follow Soul Sessions Oslo. We're trying to do some online stuff with that. We're teaching online. I don't know how long this is going to last, but for sure what saves us now is the internet. Reach out. I'm here, sometimes I'm slow at answering, but for sure add me on Facebook or Instagram or whatever and write me a message. And I think people who see this interview and really liked it, feel free to comment on it, or because that's a big motivation for you too. I think if people say it, that they like it, or that they had some inspiration through your interviews.
Yes, and maybe it sparked more questions that we haven't asked here. So feel free to comment and share and come up with new questions.
Good.
So again, thank you so much. Please take care in the Corona times, and hope to see you.
You too. Take care.
You
Bye.
too.